Hi, I'm Kirsten Chick, author of Nutrition Brought to Life, and this podcast is a companion to the book. You can listen as you read Nutrition Brought to Life, or before as a kind of preview, or after you've finished the book as a refresher. Either way, I hope this helps you make some small changes that make a big difference in your life. Hello everyone, and I'm going to say it, Merry Christmas. I know that many of you probably don't celebrate it, or are maybe listening at a completely different time of year, but at the time of recording, it's Christmas week and I'm feeling festive. Last time I talked you through the basics of your immune system and shared some of the nutrients you need to make white blood cells. You may remember the immune system is a complex, multi-layered wonder, and it has a lot to do with inflammation. In this chapter, I discuss inflammation a bit more, what kind of things can trigger it, as well as some natural anti-inflammatories. There's also a little more on foods that can regulate your white blood cells. We're up to chapter 17, strengthening your immune system. Although I still use the phrase occasionally, there's been some movement away from saying boosting your immunity. This is because it might seem to imply that you always want to stimulate your immune system into more action, whereas sometimes you actually want it to calm down. So instead, words like regulating, strengthening, and nourishing may be more appropriate. But really, the best way you can overstimulate your immune system is by stressing about what word to use, as stress is a key factor that contributes to inflammation. Inflammation isn't always bad. Your body creates inflammation as part of your healing response to injury and infection. But then it needs to calm that inflammation down. Otherwise, we get into the realms of chronic disease. That inflammation can't resolve if you keep poking the wound, or if there are so many things in your day-to-day life causing inflammation that it's all a bit too much to keep on top of. The kinds of stress that do this include work, life, and relationship pressures, as well as unresolved emotions and situations. And also chemical stress from environmental pollution, so traffic fumes, pesticides, household and personal hygiene products, and so on. Finally, there's also food as a stress factor. Some foods may irritate your digestive system more than others and so cause inflammation there. Plus, we know that your microbiome regulates inflammation. So you need a biodiverse range of microbes in your gut. So what kind of foods might be causing inflammation for you? Some foods, such as peanuts, trigger instant inflammation and other symptoms for people who are allergic to them. Other foods, such as certain vegetables, might cause discomfort and inflammation, but not be life-threatening for people who are intolerant to them. Some foods are problematic for everyone, such as processed meat and refined sugar, but the effects build up silently over years until illness occurs. It's only the foods that you're allergic to that you need to completely avoid, however. You might find you can tolerate small amounts of the others from time to time, just not on a daily or even weekly basis. If you have an allergy to a food, then it should be fairly obvious, as symptoms are usually immediate and often quite striking. Food intolerances can sometimes be trickier to figure out, though. I give a list of common offenders on page 193 of Nutrition Brought to Life, but you need to figure out what your own body likes and doesn't like. One thing you might want to try is a food and symptom diary. For a couple of weeks or so, meticulously write down everything you eat and drink and what time, as well as anything you notice that you feel, such as tiredness, headaches, rash, mood swings, bloating, nausea, tummy upset, and so on. A response to a particular food may not happen straight away. You might get a response a couple of hours later or even the following day. So bear that in mind when you're looking for patterns. Also, you might only get symptoms when you eat a lot of a particular food or regularly. Another approach you can try is an elimination diet. This is where you stop eating a suspected food or a group of suspected foods for a few weeks, then reintroduce it and see what happens. If your suspicion was correct, you should feel good for a while, then have your symptoms kick back in when you reintroduce it. Or you may want to just pay more attention to how you feel when and after you eat in general. Tuning into your body and really listening for clues can give you so much information sometimes. But an anti-inflammatory diet isn't just about taking things out of your diet. That would be just miserable. It's mostly about including plenty of nutrients that actively counter and protect you from inflammation, such as the zinc in nuts and seeds, the proanthocyanins in berries and cocoa powder, the EPA in oily fish and algae-based supplements, and a whole lot more. Again, there's a list of these on page 197 of my book. Yes, I said cocoa powder, and chocolate also features in my list of foods that help regulate white blood cells. There are so many anti-inflammatory and antioxidant substances in cocoa, and they can downregulate inflammatory substances released from macrophages and T helper cells. Lab studies where growing rats were fed cocoa powder showed a substantial change in lymphocytes, they're a type of white blood cell, in their guts and throughout their bodies. I've not come across any human studies yet, but I bet a few of you listening would volunteer. I have to point out that sugar-laden milk and white chocolate is very different from very dark chocolate and pure cocoa or cacao powder, however, and so may not have such a beneficial effect. Again, more human studies are needed. I've got time for just one more from my list, and it has to be medicinal mushrooms. These include shiitake, reishi, maitake, chaga, cordyceps, coriolus, and many more. They're all rich in beta-glucans, which modulate both aspects of the immune system we looked at last time. So the general protection it provides and the specific targeted response of antibodies and certain white blood cells. The key word here is modulate. This means they're able to boost your immunity when it needs a bump up and calm it down when it needs soothing. Many have additional anti-cancer properties, and their polysaccharides are prebiotic, which means they nourish your microbiome. Which is why I'm now going to go and make myself a cup of cocoa with medicinal mushroom powder and maybe hum a few carols to myself. Next time, chapter 18, Liver Whispering. Thanks for listening to the Nutrition Brought to Life podcast. There's also a Facebook group you can join called Nutrition Brought to Life Podcast Community, where you can share useful insights and recipes, ask questions, and get more support on your nutrition journey. If you haven't read it yet, there's so much more in the book, Nutrition Brought to Life, as well as all the scientific references and some glorious pictures. And you can find out more about me at kirstenchick.com.